Bob Iger just dropped a bombshell. He called Meghan Markle a stealer and exposed a shocking plan to use Prince Harry's inheritance to buy shares in Amazon, ESPN, and Disney. In this explosive revelation, the former Disney CEO pulls back the curtain on Meghan Markle's alleged secret scheme to leverage Harry's royal fortune for a corporate takeover of some of the world's biggest media giants. What does this mean for the Sussexes, the royal family, and global entertainment? Stay tuned as we uncover the insider details, the fallout shaking Hollywood and Buckingham Palace, and why this story is far from over. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. It began with a whisper inside Hollywood boardrooms and spread like wildfire across the corridors of Buckingham Palace. When Bob Iger, the man who built Disney into a global powerhouse, allegedly described Meghan Markle as a stealer in a private meeting, jaws dropped on both sides of the Atlantic. Few could have imagined that such a respected corporate titan would find himself at the center of a scandal involving royalty, billion-dollar media empires, and a marriage that has captivated the world. Yet, as details surfaced about Meghan's alleged plan to use Prince Harry's inheritance to buy stakes in Amazon, ESPN, and even Disney itself, it became clear this wasn't just another tabloid rumor. This was something bigger, something darker. For months, rumors swirled about Meghan's ambitions beyond the glittering world of Duchess titles and charity speeches. While she publicly positioned herself as a victim of royal rigidity and media cruelty, behind the scenes, if insiders are to be believed, she was orchestrating a plan of astonishing scope. A plan not merely to carve out a place in Hollywood, but to dominate it entirely. At the center of this narrative lies Prince Harry, the man she once described as her true love, who now faces accusations of being little more than a pawn in a high-stakes game for corporate control and financial supremacy. How did we get here? It all started years ago, during what seemed like an innocent encounter. Meghan, already transitioning out of her role as a working royal, found herself seated next to Bob Iger at a high-profile entertainment gala. She leaned in, smiled warmly, and began what many thought was a harmless pitch, offering her voiceover skills to Disney projects. But those who know Meghan say this was no casual suggestion. It was the opening move of a larger strategy to insert herself into the heart of the entertainment industry's inner circle. She knows how to charm a room, one former studio executive recalled. But this wasn't about voice acting. This was about power, about planting seeds that would grow into something much bigger. As the months rolled on, Meghan's circle expanded. Tyler Perry, Ari Emanuel, Oprah Winfrey, power players with the influence to open doors others only dream of. Deals with Netflix and Spotify followed, each more lucrative than the last. But according to whispers from Disney boardrooms, this wasn't enough. Meghan allegedly wanted more than partnerships. She wanted ownership. This is where Bob Iger enters the story in a way no one saw coming. During a confidential discussion with fellow executives, Iger reportedly expressed deep concern about Meghan's intentions. She's not just trying to make a name for herself, he allegedly warned. She's positioning to siphon Harry's inheritance and buy her way into controlling stakes in companies like ours. One source, who was present at the meeting, said Iger didn't mince words. She's a stealer, he declared, his voice filled with rare frustration. The phrase sent shockwaves across the industry. It wasn't just the accusation itself. It was who said it. Bob Iger is not known for reckless statements. The man is famously cautious, measured, and strategic in his words. For him to speak so bluntly suggests he saw something in Meghan's dealings that deeply troubled him. What exactly did Meghan do to provoke such a reaction? Some allege that she used Harry's position and his trust fund, estimated at tens of millions from Princess Diana and the Queen Mother, as leverage to negotiate entry into high-powered investment circles. Others claim she pitched deals to major media players with Harry's name as the selling point, presenting their royal status as the key to global brand dominance. It wasn't just about business, one insider revealed. It was about influence. She wanted to be the woman who controlled the flow of information, entertainment, and narratives worldwide. At the heart of this unfolding saga is a deeply troubling question. Was Harry aware of the extent of Meghan's ambitions? Or has he been unwittingly drawn into a plan that risks not only his fortune but his reputation and legacy? Behind palace walls, the mood is said to be one of quiet panic. Prince William, always protective of his younger brother, is reportedly furious over the situation. Royal aides have whispered about late-night calls between Kensington Palace and Montecito, with senior royals urging Harry to protect what remains of his inheritance. One aide described the mood as a mixture of heartbreak and fury, adding, "The family believes Harry has been manipulated. They're desperate to intervene but fear it's already too late." Meanwhile, Meghan's defenders paint a very different picture. To them, she is a modern woman charting her own course in a world dominated by old money and patriarchal systems. They argue that any criticism leveled at her is tinged with misogyny and racial prejudice. "She's not stealing," one Hollywood friend insisted. "She's building. And she's doing it brilliantly." But others aren't so sure. The stakes are monumental, not just for Meghan and Harry, but for some of the most powerful corporations on the planet. If the allegations are true, it raises profound questions about ethics, ambition, and how far someone might go to seize control of the world's most influential platforms. As we peel back the layers of this story, prepare yourself for revelations that will challenge everything you thought you knew about Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, and their place in the modern media landscape. From secret meetings in Beverly Hills to hushed conversations in royal corridors, from Hollywood power moves to whispered warnings from billion-dollar boardrooms, this is the story of love, money, and ambition colliding in the most explosive way imaginable. And it's only just beginning. In the beginning, it seemed like a love story that would heal old wounds. The world watched in awe as Prince Harry, the beloved son of Princess Diana, found happiness in Meghan Markle, an accomplished actress and activist from across the Atlantic. To many, their union was a symbol of progress, a merging of tradition and modernity. Yet beneath the surface of romance and public adoration, currents of ambition and tension were already beginning to swirl, currents that would eventually threaten to engulf them both in controversy. At the center of it all was Harry's inheritance. The young prince grew up surrounded by unimaginable privilege, but also unimaginable pain. The death of his mother at such a tender age left deep scars on his psyche, shaping his worldview and his sense of responsibility. Diana's tragic passing also left behind a sizable fortune, carefully managed in trust for her two sons. By the time Harry turned 30, the inheritance had matured, estimated to be worth around £20 million. A mixture of cash, investments, and assets intended to ensure that Diana's boys would have financial independence regardless of their roles within the monarchy. But Harry's inheritance wasn't the only source of wealth. The Queen Mother had also set aside funds for her great-grandchildren, adding to the pot. For Harry, this money represented more than just security. It was a tangible link to his mother, a symbol of her enduring love and care even in her absence. Enter Meghan Markle. When Meghan and Harry's paths crossed, she was far from a struggling actress. Having starred for several seasons in the legal drama Suits and built a portfolio of humanitarian work, Meghan was already crafting an image as a modern woman with a global perspective. But for Meghan, fame was never the destination. It was a stepping stone. Those who knew her from her early days in Hollywood often spoke of her laser-sharp focus and her desire to create not just a career but a legacy. She was always clear that she wanted more than acting, said a former colleague from her Suits days. She talked about launching her own brand, owning her own businesses, even one day producing films. Meghan thinks in decades, not years. She's strategic like that. When she married Harry, Meghan appeared to put her ambitions on hold, or at least, that's what the public was led to believe. Moving into the rarefied air of royalty seemed like the ultimate pivot. But to insiders, the signs were already there. Meghan's charm offensives with top entertainment executives, her carefully curated friendships with media moguls, and her discreet inquiries about business opportunities beyond the United Kingdom. Those close to the couple described the early months of their marriage as a delicate dance between two worlds. On one hand, Harry was still deeply loyal to the institution he had been born into. On the other, Meghan brought with her an entirely different mindset, one shaped by Hollywood's relentless hustle and America's entrepreneurial spirit. "She's a woman who's always looking for the next big thing," said one Hollywood producer who met Meghan shortly after the royal wedding. She wasn't content with charity work and ribbon-cutting ceremonies. Meghan wanted influence, she wanted ownership, and she knew that her association with Harry opened doors that might otherwise stay closed. It wasn't long before the cracks began to show. The couple's highly publicized decision to step back from their royal duties in January 2020 sent shockwaves through Buckingham Palace. Dubbed Megxit by the press, their departure raised questions not only about family loyalty but also about money. How would the Duke and Duchess of Sussex support themselves outside the confines of the monarchy? What role would Harry's inheritance play in their new life? Publicly, the couple spoke about wanting to work to become financially independent. Privately, however, sources suggest Meghan was already laying the groundwork for something far more ambitious. She saw Harry's inheritance as seed money, claimed a former aide with knowledge of the Sussexes' transition. It wasn't just about paying the bills. Meghan was thinking about investments, acquisitions, and building an empire. She's very savvy that way. Among the rumored targets were stakes in some of the biggest names in global media: Amazon, ESPN, and Disney. These weren't idle fantasies. Meghan had already forged relationships with key players in the entertainment world, and her husband's royal pedigree gave her a level of access few could dream of. But to understand how these alleged plans unfolded, one must look back at the pivotal moments that set Meghan on her path. It started, as many Hollywood stories do, with a dinner party. In the spring of 2019, shortly after the birth of Archie, Meghan and Harry attended a private gathering in Los Angeles. Among the guests were some of the most powerful people in the industry: studio heads, streaming service executives, and billionaires with a stake in shaping the cultural landscape. According to multiple attendees, Meghan was in her element. She worked the room like a seasoned pro, said one guest, speaking on condition of anonymity. It wasn't pushy, but it was clear she had a game plan. She asked smart questions, listened intently, and positioned herself as someone who could bring a global audience to any project. At one point during the evening, Meghan is said to have expressed admiration for Amazon's rise to dominance and Disney's enduring cultural clout. She talked about how content was the new power, the source recalled. She said whoever controls the narrative controls the world. It was a bold statement, but perhaps not surprising coming from someone who had spent years navigating both the British press and Hollywood gossip columns. The next key moment came during a now-famous encounter between Meghan, Harry, and Disney's Bob Iger. Caught on camera at a red carpet premiere, Meghan was seen pitching her talents directly to the Disney CEO. At the time, the clip went viral as a light-hearted glimpse into Meghan's post-royal ambitions. But in hindsight, some now view it as the opening salvo in a larger campaign to cement her place in the entertainment elite. She wasn't just asking for a job, said another industry insider. She was signaling her interest in much bigger things. If Meghan's alleged ambitions to use Harry's inheritance for corporate acquisitions sound audacious, that's because they are. Yet, for those who have watched her rise, they aren't entirely out of character. Meghan is brilliant, said a former friend. She knows how to identify opportunities and leverage relationships. But some people feel she crosses a line, especially when it comes to Harry's money. As whispers about Meghan's intentions grew louder, a critical question emerged. How much did Harry know? On the surface, Harry seemed supportive of his wife's goals. He appeared alongside her at meetings, nodded approvingly during pitches, and spoke passionately about their shared desire to change the world. Yet, those close to the prince describe a man caught between love and loyalty, unsure of where one ended and the other began. Harry adores Meghan, said a palace insider. But there's concern he doesn't fully grasp the financial risks involved. His inheritance isn't infinite, and investing in companies like Amazon or Disney requires deep pockets and savvy maneuvering. The tension between Meghan's ambitions and Harry's legacy forms the backdrop to this unfolding drama. And as Bob Iger's alleged warning about Meghan's motives reverberates through Hollywood and royal circles alike, the stage is set for a confrontation that could redefine their future and their place in history. Because behind the dazzling smiles and carefully curated Instagram posts lies a story of ambition, power, and the high-stakes gamble that could either catapult Meghan and Harry to unimaginable heights or bring their entire world crashing down. And this, as many believe, is only the beginning of a storm no one is truly prepared to face. When Bob Iger's name surfaced in the swirl of rumors surrounding Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's alleged financial maneuvers, the media world held its breath. Iger, the former CEO of Disney and a titan of the entertainment industry, is a man known for his discretion, strategic insight, and above all, his steady hand guiding one of the largest corporations on the planet. For him to use the word stealer in any context was extraordinary. For it to be linked to Meghan Markle was seismic. The story began to leak slowly, as these things do, from a confidential meeting held behind closed doors. Executives from Disney, Amazon, and other major players gathered to discuss potential business partnerships and the evolving media landscape when Iger reportedly turned the conversation to the Sussexes. According to a source familiar with the meeting, Iger's voice grew unusually sharp as he warned his peers about Meghan's ambitions. "She's not just trying to make a name for herself in Hollywood," Iger reportedly said. "She's positioning to siphon Harry's inheritance and buy her way into our business. She's a stealer." The phrase echoed around the room, causing murmurs and uneasy glances. This was not the measured, corporate speak expected from Iger. It was raw, personal, and loaded with accusation. How had the situation reached this boiling point? In private, many executives had been watching Meghan's movements with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. Her Netflix deal, though lucrative, had raised eyebrows for its unusually favorable terms. Her access to the highest echelons of Hollywood and her rapid entry into major media projects seemed almost too convenient. For those who knew the cutthroat nature of the entertainment business, Meghan's trajectory defied the usual grind. More troubling to some was the idea that Harry's inheritance was the financial fuel behind this acceleration. A trust fund designed to provide security for a prince was, according to Iger, being used as capital for aggressive business moves that risked both money and reputation. The meeting that sparked Iger's outburst reportedly took place just weeks before his announced retirement, adding an extra layer of drama. As he prepared to pass the reins to his successor, Iger seemed determined to issue a warning that would not be ignored. News of the stealer comment quickly found its way to the press, triggering a media frenzy. Headlines exploded overnight, with tabloids and online platforms speculating on the meaning and implications. Social media erupted with hashtags like #MeghanStealer and #IgerWarning, splitting public opinion sharply. Supporters of Meghan rallied to defend her, accusing Iger of jealousy or bias. Critics, however, seized on the comment as confirmation of long-standing suspicions that Meghan's intentions were far from innocent. The fallout extended beyond public discourse. Inside Disney's corporate offices, some employees whispered about the potential damage to the company's reputation if the story spiraled further. Amazon and ESPN, also named as targets of Meghan's alleged schemes, issued carefully worded statements distancing themselves from the controversy. The gravity of Iger's accusation lay in the unique position he held. He was not merely a businessman but a gatekeeper of global culture and influence. His words carried weight because they suggested that Meghan was not just an ambitious actress or royal figure, but a calculated operator willing to exploit personal relationships for corporate gain. Some industry insiders say the statement was also a reflection of growing frustration. For years, Meghan had been knocking on Hollywood's doors, seeking validation and opportunity. But her methods, they claim, were increasingly aggressive, leveraging Harry's royal status as a business tool rather than a personal asset. Disney has always been about stories and magic, one insider explained. But when real money and power are at stake, the magic fades. Iger's warning was a way of saying, this isn't just business as usual. The controversy also rippled through royal circles. Buckingham Palace officials reportedly monitored the situation with growing concern, fearing the impact on the monarchy's image and the potential for a public relations nightmare. For Prince Harry, the blow was personal. To hear the man who had once greeted Meghan warmly accuse her of theft was devastating. Friends close to Harry describe him as torn between loyalty to his wife and the harsh realities of the accusations. Meghan's response was swift and strategic. Through spokespeople, she vehemently denied the claims, branding them as baseless and rooted in misinformation. She pointed to her philanthropic work and media projects as evidence of genuine efforts to build a positive legacy. Yet the shadow of Iger's words lingered. The question remained, was Meghan truly attempting to appropriate Harry's inheritance for personal gain, or was this an exaggerated narrative crafted by those wary of her rise? As the investigation deepened, more details emerged about the complex financial arrangements surrounding Harry's trust fund and Meghan's business dealings. Legal experts weighed in, highlighting the blurred lines between marital assets and personal investments, especially in the context of high-profile couples. Bob Iger's statement became a rallying point for both supporters and detractors. For some, it was a courageous call-out against perceived exploitation. For others, a cynical attempt to undermine a woman challenging established power structures. Regardless of where one stands, the impact was undeniable. The media landscape shifted, conversations about Meghan Markle transcended celebrity gossip, and debates about wealth, influence, and ambition took center stage. In the months that followed, efforts to contain the fallout intensified. Disney executives tightened security around sensitive information. Royal advisors increased their scrutiny of Harry and Meghan's finances. And Meghan herself doubled down on her media presence, seeking to reshape the narrative through interviews, documentaries, and strategic partnerships. Yet, the phrase, "she's a stealer," remained a haunting refrain. It was a label that, whether fair or not, stuck with Meghan, coloring perceptions and fueling controversy. This chapter of their story is a stark reminder of the volatile intersection between love, money, and power, a place where personal relationships become battlegrounds and reputations hang in the balance. The name Amazon evokes images of Jeff Bezos' sprawling empire, an online marketplace that reshaped global commerce, streaming platforms that redefine entertainment, and a media powerhouse that wields influence like no other. Disney, on the other hand, stands as a symbol of storytelling magic, a titan whose reach spans film studios, television networks, theme parks, and sports channels like ESPN. For anyone with ambitions in the media world, these corporations are the ultimate prizes. According to insiders, Meghan Markle's alleged plot to use Prince Harry's inheritance to acquire stakes in these giants was not just a fantasy whispered in Hollywood hallways, it was a calculated strategy. To understand the scope of this alleged plan, one must first appreciate the scale and influence of these companies. Amazon's media division, which includes Amazon Studios and the popular streaming service Prime Video, has rapidly grown to challenge the likes of Netflix and Disney Plus in the battle for subscribers and original content. Beyond streaming, Amazon owns Twitch, Audible, and a vast network of media assets that influence consumer habits globally. Disney's portfolio is even more expansive, with ownership of the Marvel Universe, Lucasfilm, Star Wars, Pixar, ABC, and ESPN, the world's leading sports broadcaster. Disney's ability to command audiences across multiple platforms and generations makes it a dream target for anyone seeking cultural dominance. ESPN, as part of Disney's holdings, offers unparalleled access to sports fans worldwide. For a figure aiming to build influence, owning a piece of ESPN means controlling a key sector of entertainment with passionate, loyal viewers. Sources close to Meghan allege that she and her advisors recognized the power embedded in these companies and crafted a plan to tap into it. Using Harry's inheritance as seed capital, Meghan supposedly sought to negotiate investments that would grant her not just a financial stake but a voice in content and strategy decisions. This would position her as more than a celebrity or royal figure. It would make her a media mogul with tangible control over what millions watch and hear. The goal was to move from being on screen to owning the screen, said a former executive at a major media firm. Meghan was reportedly focused on acquiring influence behind the scenes. According to leaked documents reviewed by insiders, Meghan's team approached several investment firms with proposals that included using Harry's trust funds as leverage. These proposals aimed at acquiring minority stakes initially, with plans for gradual increases. While the focus on Amazon, Disney, and ESPN each represented a strategic piece of a larger puzzle. Amazon's innovative approach to streaming and retail combined made it a gateway to a broad consumer base. Disney's storytelling heritage and massive content library offered legacy and credibility. ESPN's sports programming tapped into a highly engaged, diverse audience. By gaining footholds in all three, Meghan would have positioned herself at the crossroads of entertainment, sports, and commerce, a trifecta of influence. Financial analysts interviewed say such a plan, if executed successfully, could have propelled Meghan and Harry into a rarefied class of power couples who shape public culture. Yet the risks were enormous. Acquiring stakes in companies like Amazon and Disney is not just about having money. It requires navigating complex shareholder agreements, regulatory scrutiny, and often resistance from entrenched executives. Meghan's alleged strategy included leveraging Harry's royal connection to gain preferential access, a tactic that, while controversial, is not unheard of in high-profile investment circles. The Sussex brand carries weight, said an industry analyst. It opens doors and creates unique opportunities. But turning that into boardroom power is a different game entirely. Some insiders suggest Meghan's approach caught established players off guard. Her combination of celebrity, royal prestige, and business savvy created a novel challenge for companies accustomed to negotiating with traditional investors. Negotiations were reportedly delicate, with Meghan's team emphasizing the benefits of association with the Sussex name, including global goodwill and media attention. However, these overtures also sparked concerns about conflicts of interest, especially given Disney's existing relationships with the British monarchy and ESPN's complex ownership structure. Within Disney, debates flared over whether allowing Meghan to acquire a stake would be beneficial or detrimental to the company's image and operations. Amazon executives, meanwhile, were cautious about associating with figures tied to royalty, wary of the potential for public relations issues. ESPN, operating within the fiercely competitive sports broadcasting arena, was particularly sensitive to ownership changes that could disrupt partnerships with leagues and advertisers. Despite these challenges, Meghan's ambition reportedly pushed forward. Documents suggest discussions around content collaborations that would feature Meghan in executive producer roles, coupled with investment stakes designed to amplify her creative control. This would have marked a significant departure from typical celebrity deals, merging financial power with artistic influence. Financial experts note that such deals require immense capital and a willingness to accept both financial and reputational risks. Using Harry's inheritance, while providing significant resources, also introduced vulnerabilities, especially given the public nature of royal finances and the scrutiny attached to them. Legal advisors to the Sussexes reportedly cautioned about the complexities and potential pitfalls of mixing royal assets with corporate investments. Yet, according to sources, Meghan was undeterred, viewing these investments as the foundation for a new kind of influence. One that transcended traditional media roles. She wanted to be a player in the game, not just a pawn, said an insider familiar with the Sussexes' business dealings. For Prince Harry, the stakes were deeply personal. His inheritance was not merely financial capital, it was a legacy from his mother, symbolizing protection and independence. Entrusting it to Meghan's ambitious plans was a leap of faith that, according to some, may have come with unforeseen consequences. As the story unfolds, questions linger about how far these negotiations progressed and what impact they might have had on the couple's relationship and public standing. Did Meghan's vision for media dominance drive a wedge between her and Harry? Or did Harry fully embrace the prospect of building a shared empire? These are questions that continue to resonate as more details emerge about the intricate dance between royalty, ambition, and the pursuit of power in the 21st century. Chapter 4. The Dinner Table Pitch. Meghan and Bob Iger's Disney moment. In the glittering world of Hollywood galas and exclusive industry gatherings, moments that seem casual on the surface often carry deeper strategic intent beneath. Such was the case one evening when Meghan Markle found herself seated across from Disney's then CEO Bob Iger at a high-profile charity event. What began as a seemingly polite conversation quickly morphed into a defining moment that insiders now believe revealed Meghan's grander ambitions. The event was hosted at a lavish estate in Beverly Hills, a gathering place for stars, moguls, and power players alike. The air was thick with the hum of networking, the clinking of crystal glasses, and the subtle maneuvering of deals in hushed tones. Meghan arrived accompanied by Prince Harry, her radiant smile captivating the room as cameras flashed. Bob Iger, known for his keen eye for talent and his reserved demeanor, was one of the evening's most sought-after guests. His tenure at Disney had transformed the company into a global colossus, blending traditional entertainment with cutting-edge streaming technology. To be at his table was a coveted opportunity. As fate would have it, Meghan found herself seated next to Iger during the dinner portion. What followed was a conversation that, while polite and measured on the surface, carried the undertones of a carefully calculated pitch. Meghan began by discussing her recent projects, including her philanthropic work and media ventures. But as the evening progressed, her focus sharpened. According to multiple sources present that night, Meghan expressed a keen interest in expanding her role within the entertainment industry, not merely as a talent, but as a creator and influencer. She spoke passionately about the power of storytelling and the responsibility of those who craft narratives in shaping public perception. "I believe in the magic of stories," Meghan reportedly told Iger, "and the potential to inspire change through authentic voices." Iger, ever the seasoned executive, listened attentively. Yet, what raised eyebrows among observers was Meghan's subtle but clear attempt to position herself for a deeper collaboration. At one point, she proposed lending her voice to a Disney project, suggesting a voiceover role that could align with her values and brand. While on the surface this seemed innocuous, industry insiders say it was a strategic opening gambit. "It was a classic move," said a Hollywood producer familiar with the entertainment landscape. She wasn't just asking for a job. She was signaling interest in becoming part of the company's creative fabric. This moment, now widely circulated in media clips and interviews, took on a new significance in light of subsequent events. To some, it was the first public sign of Meghan's intent to weave herself into the corporate and creative tapestry of Disney, a precursor to the larger ambitions later revealed. But what truly set this encounter apart was Iger's response behind closed doors. While maintaining professionalism publicly, privately Iger reportedly expressed concern about Meghan's approach. Colleagues recount that he viewed her pitch not as a simple career move, but as a step towards gaining insider influence. She was charming, articulate, and ambitious, one Disney insider shared. But there was a sense that she was playing a longer game, one that might blur the lines between celebrity and corporate power. This unease grew as Meghan's negotiations with other media companies unfolded. Her rapid rise from guest voiceover artist to potential executive producer raised questions about how much influence she sought and whether it was tied to deeper financial maneuvers. The dinner table pitch, as some have dubbed it, became emblematic of Meghan's complex relationship with Hollywood's power structures. It revealed a woman determined to leverage every opportunity, blending personal charm with strategic intent. For Bob Iger, it was a moment of realization that Meghan's ambitions extended far beyond typical celebrity partnerships. His later comments labeling her as stealer resonate with this interpretation, suggesting he saw her as someone who might exploit personal connections for corporate gain. Within the royal family, the implications were profound. Meghan's overtures to media giants signaled a departure from traditional royal roles and hinted at a new paradigm, one where royal influence could translate directly into business power. Prince Harry, supportive but cautious, found himself navigating this evolving landscape with increasing complexity. Balancing love, loyalty, and legacy became a daily challenge. As the years passed, the echoes of that dinner conversation continued to reverberate. Meghan's subsequent deals with Netflix, Spotify, and other media companies seemed to follow the trajectory first hinted at during that evening with Iger. But the tension between ambition and perception persisted. For every supporter who admired Meghan's drive, critics questioned the ethics and intentions behind her ascent. The dinner table pitch remains a pivotal chapter in understanding Meghan's journey, a moment where personal charm met corporate strategy, setting the stage for the explosive developments that followed. The moment Meghan Markle's name became entwined with Hollywood power moves and royal intrigue, the entertainment capital of the world erupted in debate. Was she a savvy businesswoman breaking barriers, or a calculating schemer exploiting her marriage to a prince for personal gain? The reactions from within the industry were as divided as the public opinion, ranging from admiration to outright suspicion. In Hollywood, where ambition is currency and strategic alliances can make or break careers, Meghan's rapid ascent caught many off guard. For years, she had navigated the industry as an actress with moderate success and a growing philanthropic profile. But after marrying Prince Harry, her star power escalated exponentially, and so did the stakes. Industry veterans watched closely as Meghan transitioned from royal bride to a figure with increasing media influence and business deals. Her signing with powerhouse talent agency WME, co-owned by Ari Emanuel, was seen as a major coup. Emanuel himself, a man with deep ties to Hollywood and politics, became one of her staunchest allies. Some whispered that Meghan's charm and strategic mind had won him over. Others speculated that she had seduced her way into securing his backing. "It's clear she understands the game," said a talent agent familiar with the situation. "She's not just playing the role of celebrity. She's positioning herself as a power player." At the same time, whispers of skepticism grew louder. Some executives questioned the ethics of Meghan leveraging Harry's royal status to gain access to elite circles. The phrase, using the Sussex brand, became a shorthand for what some saw as opportunism cloaked in glamour. Behind closed doors, debates raged. Should Meghan be embraced as a trailblazer redefining what a modern royal can achieve? Or was she crossing lines, manipulating relationships for personal and financial gain? Hollywood insiders spoke in hushed tones about the duality of Meghan's persona. To some, she was a visionary, ambitious, intelligent, and fearless. To others, she was a schemer, a woman who wielded her royal connection like a weapon, stepping on others to climb higher. Tyler Perry, the influential director and producer, was one of the most vocal supporters of Meghan. He reportedly kept detailed records of their interactions and publicly praised her business acumen. Harry's endorsement helped legitimize Meghan in the eyes of many and provided a shield against critics. However, even among Harry's camp, there were concerns about the scale of Meghan's ambitions. Some feared that her push to dominate media platforms risked alienating powerful stakeholders who preferred a more traditional approach. Social media became a battleground. Hashtags like #TeamMeghan and #SussexScandal trended repeatedly, with fans defending her vision and detractors accusing her of greed and manipulation. Memes and viral posts dissected every move, fueling the fire. The press played a pivotal role, often amplifying the controversy with sensational headlines and leaked stories. Tabloids suggested that Meghan's goal was to build an entertainment empire rivaling those of the world's richest moguls. Some insiders whispered about plans to acquire stakes in companies like Disney and Amazon, using Harry's inheritance as capital. Meghan's publicists fought fiercely to counter negative narratives, emphasizing her philanthropic endeavors and creative projects. They framed her as a modern woman breaking glass ceilings and redefining royal responsibilities in the 21st century. Yet, critics remained unconvinced. They pointed to leaked emails, anonymous sources, and corporate gossip that painted a picture of someone who wielded influence through calculated moves rather than genuine connections. The tension within Hollywood extended to Meghan's professional relationships. While many admired her drive, some collaborators felt sidelined or overshadowed by her ambitions. Reports of staff turnover and internal conflicts in her media projects fueled speculation about her leadership style. Despite the mixed reactions, one fact remained clear: Meghan had irrevocably changed the landscape. She had introduced a new dynamic into Hollywood, blending royalty, celebrity, and business strategy in unprecedented ways. For Prince Harry, navigating this turbulent environment was fraught with challenges. His loyalty to Meghan was unwavering, yet he grappled with the fallout from the controversies. Friends describe him as caught between protecting his wife and managing the fallout within the royal family and the public eye. The dichotomy of Meghan's Hollywood reception reflects broader societal debates about ambition, gender, and power. Was she breaking barriers as a woman of color in predominantly white spaces, or was she reinforcing stereotypes of opportunism? As the narrative evolved, so too did Meghan's strategies. She continued to forge high-profile partnerships, deepen ties with media executives, and expand her influence. The question on everyone's mind: would Hollywood ultimately embrace her as a visionary leader or reject her as a manipulator? This chapter in Meghan's story underscores the complex interplay of perception and reality in the entertainment industry. It reveals a world where image is everything, and the line between admiration and suspicion is razor-thin. Behind the gilded walls of Buckingham Palace, far from the prying eyes of the public and media frenzy, a quieter but no less intense drama was unfolding. The royal family watched with growing unease as Meghan Markle's rise seemed to accelerate not only in the public sphere, but within the very fabric of their family's legacy. Whispers began to circulate, some voiced in hushed conversations among senior aides, others conveyed in private phone calls between Kensington Palace and Montecito. The fear was palpable: she's using Harry. To understand the depth of this concern, one must grasp the profound changes the Sussexes' marriage introduced to the monarchy. For centuries, the royal family operated under traditions, protocols, and an unwritten code of loyalty and discretion. Marriages were as much about alliances and continuity as they were about personal affection. Meghan's entry into this world was a seismic shift. A woman with a Hollywood background, mixed-race heritage, and a fiercely independent streak. Initially, many in the family welcomed Meghan. There was hope that her charisma and modern sensibilities could help rejuvenate the monarchy's image. But as time passed, some began to sense that Meghan's vision diverged sharply from royal expectations. Sources close to the palace revealed a growing conviction that Meghan's intentions were not purely about love or duty, but centered on ambition and influence. The phrase, "she's using Harry," became a refrain among senior staff, reflecting fears that the prince was being manipulated or led astray. Prince William, in particular, was reportedly vocal about his concerns. Known for his protective nature toward his younger brother, William is said to have warned Harry about the risks of mixing personal relationships with business ambitions. The tension between the brothers over Meghan's role and intentions became a source of strain, playing out behind closed doors but palpable to those around them. Queen Elizabeth II, ever the steady matriarch, is believed to have privately expressed apprehension as well. While maintaining public support, her aides describe a monarch deeply troubled by the potential impact of the Sussexes' choices on the institution and its future. One senior royal aide described the mood as a mixture of heartbreak and frustration, emphasizing the delicate balance between family loyalty and institutional preservation. The heart of the palace's concern centered on Harry's inheritance, the fortune entrusted to him by Princess Diana and the Queen Mother. This money was not simply wealth but a symbol of protection and independence, intended to shield Harry from political and financial entanglements. Reports suggest that palace officials feared Meghan's alleged plans to use this inheritance to fund aggressive business ventures risked jeopardizing not only the prince's financial security but also the family's reputation. Harry's inheritance was never meant to be a bankroll for corporate takeovers, one insider explained. It was a safeguard. The fact that Meghan might be steering it toward high-stakes investments set alarm bells ringing. These fears were not unfounded. As Bob Iger's warnings surfaced and details of Meghan's alleged media ambitions emerged, the palace's anxiety deepened. Sources indicate that senior royal aides monitored Meghan's business dealings closely, coordinating with financial and legal experts to assess risks and advise the prince accordingly. The Sussexes' departure from official royal duties in 2020 intensified these dynamics. Freed from many institutional constraints, Meghan's entrepreneurial activities expanded rapidly, raising new questions about boundaries and influence. Harry found himself at the crossroads of love and legacy, caught between supporting his wife's aspirations and protecting the traditions and values instilled in him since childhood. Friends describe him as increasingly isolated, torn by the pressures from both his family and the public spotlight. Some insiders suggest that Harry's willingness to embrace Meghan's plans stemmed from a deep desire to break free from what he perceived as a stifling royal mold, a longing to chart his own path, even at great personal cost. However, this path came with consequences. The palace's mistrust and the widening rift between Harry and other family members created a maelstrom of emotional and political turmoil. In private conversations, senior royals are said to have expressed regret over the situation, lamenting what they see as missed opportunities for dialogue and reconciliation. The narrative that Meghan was using Harry became a potent and painful storyline within royal circles, one that fueled internal debates and shaped the family's public messaging. Media coverage of these tensions only added fuel to the fire, often amplifying rumors and exaggerating divisions. Yet, amid the turmoil, the Sussexes remained resolute in their pursuit of independence and influence, doubling down on media projects, philanthropic endeavors, and public appearances. The story of Meghan using Harry is more than just a family dispute. It encapsulates the broader challenges facing the monarchy in the 21st century, the clash between tradition and modernity, duty and ambition, love and power. As this chapter unfolds, it reveals the complex human emotions beneath the headlines: loyalty, betrayal, hope, and fear. The royal family's fears are a testament to the fragility of institutions confronted with change and the enduring tension between personal desires and public responsibilities. In the years following their departure from royal duties, Meghan Markle's ambitions transcended the realm of celebrity and entered the high-stakes world of global business. Far from content with the traditional role of a duchess, Meghan envisioned a future where she would not only influence culture but also control it. Her journey toward becoming a global business mogul was marked by strategic partnerships, savvy branding, and an unrelenting drive to reshape her narrative on her own terms. Meghan's media ventures quickly became the cornerstone of her new identity. Deals with streaming giants like Netflix and Spotify offered platforms not just for storytelling, but for amplifying her voice and vision. These contracts, often described as groundbreaking for a figure transitioning from royalty to entrepreneur, were only the beginning. Industry insiders reveal that Meghan's approach to these deals was far from typical celebrity endorsement. She insisted on executive producer roles, creative control, and the ability to shape content that aligned with her values: feminism, social justice, and empowerment. This level of involvement was unusual and marked a departure from the norm, signaling a desire to influence the industry from within. Meghan wanted to be more than a face on the screen, said a former executive familiar with the negotiations. She wanted to be at the table where decisions were made. Her vision extended beyond entertainment. Reports suggest Meghan aimed to build a diversified empire encompassing publishing, fashion, wellness, and philanthropy. Each venture was carefully curated to reinforce her brand as a modern icon of empowerment and innovation. Central to this vision was the Sussexes Archewell Foundation, conceived as a philanthropic powerhouse with a media arm capable of producing impactful content. This blend of charity and commerce represented Meghan's unique approach to influence, leveraging business success to fund social change. Financial analysts note that this model mirrors strategies employed by some of the world's most successful moguls who blend profit with purpose. It positioned Meghan not just as a celebrity, but as a serious entrepreneur with long-term goals. However, building such an empire required capital, and that's where Prince Harry's inheritance played a crucial role. Sources close to the couple indicate that Harry's trust fund provided seed money for many of their ventures, allowing Meghan to negotiate deals with confidence and credibility. This financial backing gave Meghan leverage in boardrooms and negotiating tables, transforming her from an outsider to a contender. Meghan's business acumen was complemented by a carefully assembled team of advisors, legal experts, and marketers who helped craft a cohesive brand strategy. They worked to navigate the complexities of international markets, media regulations, and public relations challenges. Her ability to connect with audiences across demographics was bolstered by a savvy use of social media and public appearances that blended authenticity with calculated messaging. Yet, the road to mogul status was not without obstacles. Meghan faced relentless scrutiny from media outlets skeptical of her intentions and critical of her rapid rise. Accusations of opportunism and manipulation shadowed many of her moves. Despite this, Meghan maintained focus on her vision, often highlighting stories of resilience, diversity, and innovation in her projects. Her public speeches and interviews reinforced themes of breaking barriers and redefining traditional roles, resonating with a global audience hungry for change. Strategic alliances further bolstered Meghan's position. Partnerships with influential figures in entertainment, business, and activism expanded her reach and credibility. Collaborations with high-profile producers, authors, and artists diversified her portfolio and amplified her impact. Financially, Meghan's ventures showed promising growth, with some projects receiving critical acclaim and commercial success. Her ability to secure multi-million-dollar deals underscored her status as a formidable player in the business world. However, some critics questioned the sustainability of her empire, pointing to the risks of overextension and the volatile nature of celebrity-driven brands. Legal experts caution that blending personal brand, philanthropy, and commercial ventures requires careful management to avoid conflicts of interest and ensure compliance with regulations. Meghan's journey reflects a broader trend of women breaking into leadership roles traditionally dominated by men, particularly in media and entertainment. Her story inspires many but also serves as a cautionary tale about the challenges faced by women of color navigating complex power structures. Ultimately, Meghan's vision of becoming a global business mogul is a testament to her resilience, ambition, and strategic thinking. It encapsulates her desire to control her narrative, create lasting impact, and redefine what it means to be a modern royal in an interconnected world. The controversy surrounding Meghan Markle's alleged use of Prince Harry's inheritance to fuel her business ventures raises critical questions that extend beyond personal ambition and into the complex domains of law and ethics. What are the legal boundaries governing the use of royal inheritance? How do marital assets and trust funds intersect with entrepreneurial endeavors? And perhaps most importantly, what ethical considerations arise when private wealth becomes the foundation for public influence? Harry's inheritance, sourced largely from Princess Diana's estate and the Queen Mother's trusts, was established with clear intent to provide financial security and independence. It was a safeguard designed to protect the prince from the vulnerabilities that often accompany public life. Using this inheritance as capital for corporate investments ventures into uncharted territory, especially given the unique status of royal finances. In the United Kingdom and the United States, where the Sussexes hold citizenship, laws governing marital assets and trust funds differ but share certain principles. Marital assets typically encompass wealth accumulated during marriage and are subject to division upon divorce, while trusts established by third parties often come with specific terms dictating their use. Financial experts emphasize that the terms of Princess Diana's trust funds likely included stipulations limiting the ability to deploy funds toward high-risk ventures. Furthermore, such trusts often require fiduciary oversight to ensure that the assets are managed responsibly and in alignment with the donor's intentions. This raises questions about whether Meghan and Harry's use of the inheritance for media investments adhered to these stipulations or whether they sought to circumvent restrictions through legal structuring. In addition, the blending of royal inheritance with commercial ventures invites scrutiny regarding potential conflicts of interest and transparency. Public figures, especially those linked to monarchy, are held to high standards due to their influence and the public's interest in the stewardship of their resources. Ethical frameworks suggest that leveraging inherited wealth for personal gain is not inherently wrong, but when that wealth carries symbolic significance and public expectation, the stakes are higher. Legal advisors familiar with high-net-worth trust management highlight the importance of clear boundaries between personal wealth and institutional funds. Missteps can lead to legal challenges, reputational damage, and financial penalties. Moreover, the Sussexes' international status complicates matters. Navigating tax laws, disclosure requirements, and regulatory oversight across jurisdictions requires meticulous planning and adherence to varying standards. Critics argue that using royal inheritance for expansive business deals, particularly those with high visibility and potential risk, could undermine the public's trust and invite accusations of exploitation. Supporters counter that such use of funds represents modern entrepreneurship and independence, consistent with evolving norms around wealth management and personal agency. The debate also touches on broader societal questions about privilege and responsibility. When wealth is inherited, does the beneficiary have an obligation to preserve it conservatively, or is there room for bold investment to generate greater impact? In the Sussexes' case, their philanthropic commitments through Archewell suggest an intent to blend financial success with social good, blurring traditional lines. Financial transparency becomes paramount in this context. Public scrutiny demands clear accounting of how funds are sourced and deployed, especially when linked to charitable endeavors. Legal precedents in similar high-profile cases emphasize the necessity for strict governance and compliance to avoid allegations of impropriety. Furthermore, the intertwining of personal wealth with media influence amplifies ethical concerns. Control over narratives and platforms, powered by inherited wealth, can shape public discourse in profound ways. Stakeholders across sectors call for accountability and ethical leadership, urging public figures to navigate these intersections with care. As investigations and analyses continue, the Sussexes face the challenge of balancing ambition with prudence, public expectation with private autonomy. The legal and ethical questions raised are not merely academic, they have tangible implications for their reputation, financial standing, and legacy. This chapter in their story underscores the complexities at the crossroads of royalty, wealth, and modern business, revealing the intricate dance required to maintain integrity amidst ambition. Behind every powerful figure lies a network, a web of relationships, alliances, and collaborations that can either elevate or undermine their ambitions. For Meghan Markle, her journey from actress to duchess to media mogul has been marked by a constellation of influential connections. But questions arise. Are these relationships genuine partnerships forged on mutual respect, or are some merely pawns in a carefully orchestrated strategy to consolidate power? Among the most notable figures in Meghan's circle are Ari Emanuel, the formidable co-CEO of WME, Tyler Perry, the trailblazing filmmaker and producer, and Oprah Winfrey, the media queen whose endorsement carries unparalleled weight. Each of these relationships brought unique opportunities and challenges, shaping Meghan's path in profound ways. Ari Emanuel, often described as the inspiration for the character Ari Gold in HBO's Entourage, wields significant clout in Hollywood. His agency represents some of the biggest names in entertainment and has extensive ties across the industry. Meghan's signing with WME was a pivotal moment, signaling her serious intent to transition into the business side of media. Emanuel's backing provided access to top-tier projects and decision-makers. Yet insiders suggest that Emanuel's role extended beyond professional support. Some allege that Meghan's charm and strategic acumen allowed her to navigate complex corporate dynamics with ease, leveraging Emanuel's influence to fast-track her initiatives. There are whispers of negotiations and behind-the-scenes maneuvering that underscore the transactional nature of such high-stakes relationships. Tyler Perry stands out as one of Meghan's most vocal advocates. The director's public praise and private support offered legitimacy and protection amid swirling controversies. Perry's extensive media empire and philanthropic efforts aligned with Meghan's vision of blending business with social impact. His records and testimonies are said to hold valuable insights into Meghan's strategies and the challenges she faced. However, the closeness of their relationship has sparked speculation. Was Perry a genuine friend and mentor, or a strategic ally enlisted to bolster Meghan's credibility? Some former associates hint at a complex dynamic, balancing admiration with caution. Oprah Winfrey's involvement added another layer of prominence. Her interviews and endorsements catapulted Meghan into the global spotlight, framing her narrative in ways that resonated with millions. Oprah's vast media network and philanthropic initiatives offered platforms that amplified Meghan's message. Yet, such high-profile endorsements also attracted scrutiny. Critics questioned whether Oprah's support was fully informed or influenced by the allure of royal drama and exclusive access. Beyond these marquee names, Meghan's network includes a diverse array of producers, activists, business leaders, and political figures. Each connection serves strategic purposes, opening doors, securing funding, or shaping public perception. The intricate web extended internationally, bridging Hollywood, London, and Washington, D.C., reflecting Meghan's ambition to operate on a global stage. However, the scale and visibility of her network invited skepticism. Detractors argued that some relationships were more transactional than relational, built on mutual convenience rather than genuine trust. Questions about loyalty, influence, and authenticity permeated conversations among industry observers and royal insiders alike. Social media further complicated these dynamics, as public displays of friendship or endorsement often masked private tensions or divergent interests. Navigating this complex terrain required diplomatic skill, strategic communication, and relentless focus. Traits Meghan demonstrated repeatedly. Her ability to manage such a high-profile network under intense scrutiny speaks to her resilience and adaptability. Yet, the question remains, are these powerful friends truly allies, or pawns in a larger game? Understanding Meghan's network offers critical insights into the mechanics of modern influence, where relationships are currency and power is negotiated through alliances. This chapter reveals the dual nature of such networks, blending opportunity with vulnerability, connection with calculation. As Meghan's story continues to unfold, her network will undoubtedly play a decisive role in shaping her legacy. When Bob Iger's private remarks about Meghan Markle surfaced in the media, describing her as a stealer and alleging that she intended to use Prince Harry's inheritance to buy stakes in media giants like Disney, Amazon, and ESPN, the impact was immediate and far-reaching. What had begun as confidential concerns shared in boardrooms and executive meetings exploded into a public scandal that rippled across industries, royal circles, and social media platforms. The initial leak of Iger's comments sent shockwaves through the entertainment world. Disney employees and executives grappled with the revelation that their former CEO had openly criticized a figure who was, at that moment, expanding her media presence with unprecedented speed and visibility. Rumors swirled about internal divisions within Disney, between those who saw Meghan as a disruptive force and those who admired her ambition. Media outlets around the globe seized the story, splashing headlines that questioned Meghan's integrity, business ethics, and relationship with Harry. The phrase, "she's a stealer," became a viral catchphrase, tweeted, posted, and debated endlessly. For many, it seemed to confirm suspicions that Meghan's rise was fueled not by talent alone, but by calculated exploitation of royal wealth. Social media platforms became battlegrounds for supporters and detractors alike. Hashtags like #IgerLeaks and #MeghanScandal trended for weeks, with fierce debates unfolding in comment sections and live streams. Some fans defended Meghan vigorously, calling the allegations sexist and racially motivated, while critics used the leaked comments to amplify narratives of greed and manipulation. Within the Sussex camp, the reaction was swift and strategic. Meghan's representatives issued statements denying the allegations and framing Iger's remarks as personal attacks rooted in misinformation. They emphasized Meghan's philanthropic work, creative projects, and efforts to build a positive legacy independent of royal privilege. Prince Harry, meanwhile, faced an intensely personal crisis. Friends describe him as devastated by the public airing of private matters, torn between protecting his wife and confronting the reality of the accusations. The leak deepened existing tensions with the royal family and media, compounding the isolation the couple already felt. Corporate responses followed. Disney, Amazon, and ESPN released carefully worded statements distancing themselves from the controversy, emphasizing their commitment to ethical business practices and declining to comment on personal disputes. Executives were instructed to maintain discretion, while internal communications reassured staff and stakeholders. Industry analysts weighed in on the potential consequences for Meghan's business ventures. Some predicted that the scandal could damage partnerships, reduce investor confidence, and hinder future deals. Others argued that, in an era of celebrity-driven brands, controversy might paradoxically increase visibility and influence. The legal implications of the leaked comments also surfaced. Questions arose about confidentiality breaches, potential defamation, and the responsibilities of corporate leaders when discussing high-profile clients or associates. Both Iger's team and Meghan's legal advisors reportedly engaged in discussions behind closed doors to manage fallout. The palace, closely monitoring the situation, was reportedly concerned about the implications for the monarchy's reputation. Advisors coordinated messaging strategies aimed at containing the damage and mitigating further media speculation. For the public, the scandal offered a rare glimpse behind the scenes of the intertwined worlds of royalty, media, and business. It raised broader questions about the nature of power, privilege, and the ethical boundaries of ambition. As the weeks passed, the fallout continued to evolve. New leaks, anonymous insider accounts, and speculative reports kept the story alive in news cycles and water-cooler conversations. Meghan's media projects faced renewed scrutiny, with critics calling for transparency about funding sources and governance. The Sussexes' philanthropic activities came under the microscope as well, with supporters defending their impact amid a charged atmosphere. Amid the storm, Meghan and Harry remained publicly committed to their vision, using interviews, social media, and carefully crafted appearances to shift the narrative toward resilience, empowerment, and social justice. This chapter of their story illustrates the volatile interplay between private ambition and public perception, where a single phrase, "she's a stealer," can ignite a firestorm affecting reputations, relationships, and careers. It underscores the power of words, the fragility of trust, and the high stakes involved when personal and professional worlds collide on a global stage.